Well, there are many ways to getting 330 these days in ODI cricket. India have shown a way that we're not used to seeing. At the end of it, they've managed to get 329. They've been bowled out with 10 balls to spare. Now, what sort of conversation does that make in a series decider on ESPN Cricket for Matchday, powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G? Ian Bell and Sanjay Manjrekar will make sense of that. I'll start with Sanjay and his tweet a little while back, which was, of course, acknowledging what is a new India or a new way to approach an ODI innings. Sanjay, what do you make about that?
Yeah, generally we've seen in Indian cricket or in the game as well that you lose a few wickets and the typical terms are used. We've got to steady the ship and we've got to repair the innings. So it was interesting watching Rishabh Pant and Hardik Pandya come out after Rahul lost his wicket and they got together. And it was an interesting way of rebuilding, which was basically about just flattening the opposition. And that partnership of just less than 100 was just incredible to watch. It wasn't your typical repairing the innings kind of approach. And that is, I guess, and that is why I found the morning's discussion or the afternoon discussion so fascinating that we are seeing so many different elements now in 50 overs cricket. And in that partnership, when India was 4 down, you saw that element really come out strong in what was essentially a rebuilding partnership.
I wonder what England would make of this. They chased 337 easily in the last game, Ian. And here they are now at one stage when Pant and Hardik Pandya were going, that partnership of 99 of 73. We were discussing it as well. India could have possibly got 400 had those two batted another 7 or 8 overs. As it turns out, it does go off, which are the perils of playing this sort of game as well. You could end up getting 330 when you're aiming for 390 and you could get bowled out within your 50 overs. So what sort of total is that? England would be pleased with that?
I think England will be very happy at the halfway point. I mean, I think what they did really well, wasn't it? I think was that they were just chipping away, taking wickets constantly through the 50 overs, which, going into the last 10, those 2 wickets at the end as well that they got, I think it was Sam Curran and then and Wood going into the last 10 just helped them just contain India in that last 10 overs. And it ebbed and flowed, didn't it, all the way through. At one point, we're looking at close to 400. Then it was, can India get a score? And then that rebuilding, and it looked like 400 was on again. And then England pulled it back nicely. So look, I think they'll be very happy at halfway. I think they still would have been happy and confident with 350 to chase. But yeah, I think they've been very good. And the key was just taking wickets steadily through the India innings.
These are the perils of playing this way, though, Sanjay, isn't it? You wonder if you go too hard, what if Pant or Pandya would have gone too hard and gotten out, and then you're suddenly exposing the last 5 batsmen with well over 20 overs to spare. As it turns out, we saw a smaller glimpse of it. India still managed to get 329. It seems like an underachievement. But what sort of takeaways can they take from the way they approach this innings, looking at the score they eventually ended up with?
We talked on the show how we'll see a definite change in the first 30 overs, how India approached the first 30 overs, and the change was massive. In the last one day, in the 30 overs, they got about 142. And today they were 206 in the first 30 overs. So that they corrected that aspect quite well. In fact, they outdid England in the first 30 overs. In England, in the last game, weren't 206. They were about 194. Having said that, I don't really think it was Hardik Pandya and Rishabh Pant's approach that has got India sort of to get out inside the 50 overs. And then you think, was that overdone? Just the fact that India was 4 wickets in the first 25 overs. So that was a bit of an issue because that was something that was always going to hurt India. Adil Rashid went at an economy rate of 8 runs, but he got the wickets of, Shikhar Dhawan and Rohit Sharma, which is always going to come into play at some point of time. Also, the fact that Hardik Pandya and Rishabh Pant getting out was again slightly run of play, especially Rishabh Pant, who had this knack of getting the big scores as well. So who knows? Had they lasted a little longer, would have been touching, 400. India would have been touching 400.
I think as well, Ronak, as well, with the 2 different styles. Like in the second one, the way that India played with the slow build-up, the maximum they were going to get was probably 330. In this one now, they've got 330, but the maximum probably would have been 380, 390. So I would sit here and suggest that actually they might look at that and go, actually, we have ended up with that, but the other style, we can only get to 330 with the starts we were getting, whereas now the possibilities of getting close to 400 are much more. So they've got with a 330, but they could have done so much more.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it, isn't it? That even
that's
if you take
excellent observation. Really, well done, Belly.
Yeah, Sanjay, if you want to elaborate on that.
Sorry, it was an
No,
excellent
no,
point that Belly
yeah,
made.
I'm saying if you'd like to elaborate on it, it's one way of looking at it that you can still limp your way to 330, but it's still 330.
Yeah, but you know what Belly said is absolutely right. At least there is a potential and there is a chance that India might get to 400. We saw what happened in the last game. India played as per, how they have the model of setting a score where there was a big partnership. One guy got 100, and then the dashers came in, and Hardik Pandya got a flyer. So did Rishabh Pant, and everybody sort of were very good in the last 15, 20 overs. But in the end, you got 336, and England chased it down and 6 overs to spare. It might happen today as well that England might comfortably chase it down, but at least India was in a position to get to 380 and 390, which would have really put a lot of pressure on even this England side underlies where they have an advantage and with the kind of bowling attack that India have.
We had a lot of this conversation before the 2019 World Cup with the 2023 50 overs World Cup again being played in these parts of the world. Is this also now a signal that England are forcing teams, including India, who had a lot of faith in their way of playing the ODI game that this now is different? You have to play things differently. Even if you're India, play without a wrist spinner at home if you must. Play the kind of batsman that will play our game.
Well, I suppose it'd be interesting when we get to different venues and you have to adjust, don't you, to different styles. But at this venue at Pune at the moment, it looks like that's the way to go, isn't it? It's such a good surface for batting. The ball seems to be flying out the ground so easily, and the power these guys have got at the moment is quite incredible. So I think so. I mean, there's no doubt the game is evolving all the time, and the way T20 is going now. As I said, England certainly have been the first team to nearly go, okay, let's take T20 into 50 over cricket. Which is a little bit, I suppose, not the traditional way, but we saw today with India, even with the same players with a slightly more T20 mindset up front. And maybe as well, England probably weren't quite as good today in the first 10, but India capitalised. And that platform, again, the possibilities were, 380 rather than, like I said, the perfect old school template, which was build to get to 330, but probably not going to get any more than that. And that will win most games of cricket against most teams in the world. But I said, against this England side at the moment, you've got to look a little bit outside the box than just the conventional building up of getting to 330.
A quick point, Ronak, final point on this from my side is that I think the lessons learned for India in 50 overs cricket, and of course there's no world event right now for 50 overs cricket, but something they'll have to do eventually when the World Cup is around the corner, is that if you get a flat pitch and if you're batting first, wickets preservation, has to be done with, not get too sort of possessed by that idea of wickets preservation like India did in that second one-day international. So that is the lesson on a flat pitch. Let's not worry too much about keeping wickets in hand.
Okay, interesting. Pant at 4 in the 17th over ahead of a KL Rahul and continues to do what he's made the last few months his own, Rishabh Pant. So as his batting efforts come to a close on this tour, Sanjay, has he now just established himself as India's batsman keeper in every format?
Just incredible again today. And the kind of shots this guy plays, and we talked about it last time as well, there aren't too many miss hits. When we watch him bat, we think, this one is a miss hit. There was one shot that he played where his hand came off, I think against Livingstone. And we thought, okay, he's now going to hold out at long off, and the ball had sailed into the crowd. Then the flick shots, and just incredible. There was that this scoop also that he played early in the innings. So this is a guy who's at the top of his game. His confidence is very high, but I just like the calmness while he's doing all this. It doesn't seem to be a frenetic activity. And I like the fact that he's not somebody who goes in at number 4 and looking to get a 50-run cameo. I think he's always going there to make sure that he keeps playing that fashion for a long period of time. So just incredible watching him today again.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a difference that last test would have made when we saw Rishabh Pant play the way he did, Ian. But you followed him closely now through this entire tour. This whole chat of Pant not probably getting the gears of ODI cricket, he seems to have now understood it quite well over a pretty short period of time.
Yeah, he's had a fantastic series, hasn't he, across all 3 formats. And Sanjay's right. There's a real calmness today as well. It's not just high risk slogging or anything like that. There's a real clinical ball. So he gets off strike and rotates strike. so well. I imagine out of all that, the batting lineup for India, those bowlers at the end of their mark, thinking if they get it slightly wrong, Pant does hurt them. And yeah, we've seen a maturity, I think, as this series has gone on. That Test match 100 would have given him a lot of confidence. But I can't imagine now, again, an Indian side without him in it. It does feel that way. He feels like he's the future, around some world-class players as well. But yeah, we've seen a real mature series across all three formats, and that's quite rare at the moment for seeing someone playing like that. I think he's a real rare talent, and hopefully, again, this is just the start of him now having a very successful career. But yeah, incredible to watch, a real match winner.
Is there a downside to this approach at times when a player like Virat Kohli gets out in the way that he does? Sanjay?
Downside in the sense?
You see him play this ungainly sort of hack and gets out because you know that there's a different approach here now. The approach is, come on, let's keep at it. Let's put pressure on Moeen Ali. Yes, he went for 47 in the last over. Let's play him differently. But, is there a downside to that sometimes?
You have to wait against the upside that you get with Rishabh Pant. What was brilliant at that stage, and that's why there was a potential 400 runs there, purely because you had Adil Rashid getting 2 crucial wickets, but then Rishabh Pant comes in and goes after him. And Adil Rashid is then clueless as to what to do. You could see his body language, like, what do I do now? Generally, when you have seen a guy get 2 crucial wickets, you sort of play him out thinking that, he's going to be the danger bowler. That is the kind of logic we've seen. Even Hardik Pandya going after Moeen Ali, after Moeen Ali got out Virat Kohli. So that was nice to see. And it's something that India shouldn't lose. And in the end, Ronak, when you look at it, India lost 4 wickets in the first half of the innings. And then Hardik Pandya and Rishabh Pant played in that fashion, and they both got out. And then Shardul also contributed. And it wasn't like India were all out in the 42nd over. India still managed to almost play out the 50 overs. So I think the lesson learned from this series, and thanks to England, is that we perhaps in Indian cricket take wickets preservation a bit too much, into our equation and overdo that aspect. Today was a great example of losing 4 wickets, batsmen still, playing as if it's a T20 game and managing to almost play out the 50 overs. In the end, the score isn't enough, but at least, as Ian Bell mentioned brilliantly earlier, at least there was a potential to get to 385, 400.
Sure. All right. England's bowlers then, those wickets did look like they came against the run of play, but looks like Ben Stokes just has the knack of getting wickets, sometimes the knack of just getting Hardik Pandya. Mark Wood, who had a tough day in the field, is still managed to put in a shift and give England the return. So shall we say credit to England's bowlers in testing conditions, Belly, or were some of those wickets a bit fortuitous?
I think that, a little bit. I think to credit to them, they kept chipping away, knowing that, again, wickets was going to slow India down. And you look at Adil Rashid there, did he go 8 and over and got 2 wickets? So they'll be more happy, England, with the 2 wickets than none for. So I think that's made a big difference. And there was a little bit of luck with England, but sometimes you have to deserve or make your own luck. And I thought they kept chipping away. They never gave up, even though India were playing some really aggressive, good cricket. And I think if India can take a little bit out of that for when they go out, but we know the conditions will be so much better for batting. But yeah, the wickets that they did, and Adil Rashid again with the googly to get Rowett out, beautiful delivery. As I said, and Mark Wood doing what he did as well. He's been, when he's fully fit, he just make this England team look a different bowling attack altogether. So I think they'll be very happy. As I said, key wickets at the key times, and it really was a good battle between bat and ball. I think conditions are very favourable for the bat, so England will be happy with the fact they actually bowled India out in the 50 overs.
All right. Well, let's take a bit of a breather from this game. One last time on this series, it is time to put Sanjay Manjrekar through the ordeal of some quiz questions. But he wouldn't mind it. I think he likes some of the questions we put up today. Ian Bell can end on a high. He's already said this tour has been of tosses and quizzes for England, even if it's not been about the results. Maybe that will change today. But let's play our Real Me Power of 5. Okay, you know the drill. You've been following this right through the tests and the T20Is and the ODIs. So get ready to test your memory of India-England ODI cricket in the next few minutes. If you're watching us on Facebook and YouTube, just be free to join because Ian and Sanjay are going to play this. Whoever puts their hand up first to answer the 5 questions that I put one by one can stand to win some bragging rights. And as far as the rules go, it's very simple. It's going to be some India-England questions, and I'm going to have a 15-second timer that I'll display on my brand new Realme X7 Pro 5G here with 120 Hz Super AMOLED full screen display. It's a brilliant phone. So let's get into this straight away. Question number 1, shall we? Against which opposition did Virat Kohli last score an international century? It's the theme of the town, talk of the town, not necessarily an ODI question. In fact, it's not an ODI question. But when did Virat last score his international 100? Timer's underway. Anybody? The hint I would give is Sanjay Manjrekar,
including test.
Yes. All right, I'll give you. It's a test 100. The last international 100 he got was a test 100.
Oh, it'd be an absolute guess for me.
All right. Anybody? You can both have a crack. Time's up.
Would it be South Africa at home?
No, it's not South Africa. He's got one just after in the same year. Ian?
I'll go for an out-and-out guess because I can't think of the time scale. New Zealand.
No, it was. He actually got it in that inaugural day-night test.
Bangladesh or Afghanistan?
Yes, Bangladesh. It was Bangladesh. So the pink ball test against Bangladesh in November 2019 in Kolkata. So no international 100 since then, and the wait will continue as India's international commitments are done for a few months with the IPL looming. So that was our first question. Let's go to our next one, shall we? Which player from England once took 6 wickets and scored a century in the same ODI against Bangladesh? It's a rare feat, 100 and a 6 for. So which player is this? Yes, Ian Bell would remember this. All right.
I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go. It might be wrong. Paul Collingwood.
It's not wrong. It's absolutely right. Paul Collingwood is correct. Yes.
What a guess.
So well done. It was indeed Paul Collingwood. We have to go back a few years now. This is 2005 at Trent Bridge, where Paul Collingwood got 112 of 86 and 6 for 31 in what's a very rare feat in ODI cricket. Yep.
Did he man of the match as well?
I think he did. All right. Let's go. It's 1-0 to Ian Bell. So he started this well. Number 3. Which current player holds the record for the highest individual score by an England batsman in ODIs? So, which current player from this England team has the record for the highest individual score in ODI cricket by an England batsman? Anyone? Time's running out.
I'll go for it. And they're in the current squad at the moment.
Yes, they're in the current team. Yes, that's the hint.
Yeah,
I'm going to go. It might be wrong. Jason Roy.
No, it's not wrong. I like this tactic you're applying when you think it might be wrong. It's absolutely right. Jason Roy got 180 against Australia at the MCG in Jan 2018, 180 of 151 balls. That was the highest score by an England batsman in ODI cricket. So 2-1, 2-0. Sorry, 2-0. And Sanjay has a chance now to come back. Now, these are some questions that are exclusive to either of you. So let's go to our next question, shall we? At which venue did Sanjay Manjrekar score his highest ODI score against England? Now, this is a question only for Ian Bell first, and then I'll get Sanjay to hopefully give me the right answer. At which venue
no way he's going to know.
Score his highest ODI score against England?
Wankhede Stadium.
No, it's not. Sanjay, would you like to give him the answer?
Headingley, no?
Yes, indeed. It was at Headingley. It was in Leeds in 1990, July 1990. A 55-over game. Sanjay, you remember your innings? 82 of 133 to help India chase down 233.
I recently actually related a story around it. Jeffrey Boycott was adjudicating the player of the match, and he said, you played well, son, but the guy who won you the game was Anil Kumble.
Yeah.
Who bowled economically his 11 overs, and he was the one who really, made the win possible. So I like that Jeffrey came and told me that, and yes, Anil Kumble got the player of the match, although I got around 80.
Yeah, 82. Anil Kumble was player of the match, and seems like a completely different style of one-day international cricket. 55 overs, 233 to chase. Here we are discussing 329 not being enough and 337 being cut down. But that was 1990, in a game that Sanjay Manjrekar could remember fondly, his second highest score in ODI cricket. But yeah, so I'm going to give you that, Sanjay, right? Because you knew the answer. You could have easily got that wrong. But yeah, so 2-1 is the score. And the last question.
This is all consolation sort of consolation prize.
So
Look,
this is a
last
question
question could be
only
Sanjay.
for you.
Tell me your full name, and then I'll get another question right.
All right, this is only for you, Sanjay. How many hundreds
Okay.
has Ian Bell scored against India in ODIs? Time is up. All right, he says 3. Ian, would you like to give the right answer?
I think it's 2.
Yes, it is indeed 2. 2 of Ian Bell's 4 international hundreds in one-day cricket were against India. Do you remember them, Ben?
One was at, I want to say, the Rose Bowl in
That's
Hampshire.
right. One was at
And
Southampton.
then one
Yeah.
was, what's the beautiful ground? I forgot what it's called now.
Yeah. Dharamshala. Dharamshala
Yes.
was the other
Yeah,
one in
beautiful ground, yeah.
2013.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely right. So we have to go 2007 in Southampton, and then 2013 in Dharamshala for Ian Bell's 200s against India in ODI cricket. Right. Fittingly, Ian Bell takes the honors on the last.
Cold day, wasn't it, Delhi?
Sorry?
It was a cold day, Sanjay Das.
It was a cold day.
It was a very, very cold day in Dharamshala. I remember we were all suffering. The night before in the hotel that we were
Bit
staying
more
in.
like, yeah,
damn cold.
more like English conditions.
Yeah. All right. So Ian Bell takes the honors. He wins the last Realme Power 5 on this tour, but it's not quite done. If you'd like to head over to the ESPN Cricinfo Facebook page, you still stand a chance to win a Realme X7 5G in every match. This is for all our viewers. Just jump over and try and play the Realme Power 5 on the ESPN Cricinfo Facebook page. This wonderful phone is at an opportunity to be won. Right, that was fun. Ian Bell's enjoyed this, especially against Sanjay Manjrekar, who's had a stiffer challenge at times, perhaps, against Gautam Gambhir.
Ronak, how about a word of praise for the consistency that I've shown in this?
That's the one thing I can always count on you for, Sanjay. That's consistency and some good storytelling, which I think is more valuable than what we see in scorecards, right? Our quiz guys can't filter into these great anecdotes around the games. All they can do is pull out this trivia and data. So well done to Sanjay Manjrekar. Right. Let's have a quick chat on the chase now. India's bowlers clearly were shell-shocked in that last game. They have to be thinking about what they could do to not suffer the same. So what is that sort of thing? They've got less runs than they had to play with in the second ODI, Sanjay. This is a decider. What are India's bowlers, this different bowling combination, thinking right now?
See, let's not forget India were able to defend 316 in the first one-day international. It's just that the second win was a little more sort of eye-catching and shell-shocking for India with the distance by which England won. Due factor is again going to be crucial. So, India should try and get all the bowlers that are able to take the pace off in the first, 10, 15 overs, bowl them as much as possible. Maybe Krunal Pandya as well, as long as there is grip in the pitch. But at least, I'm a little happy that Natarajan is playing in this game, because this is a guy who will know how to sort of ensure that he's not taken, apart like some of the bowlers were in the last game.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know that playing for the Sunrisers, Tom Moody speaks often about Natarajan being someone who's good with even his defensive bowling, where he knows how to avoid getting hit for boundaries if that is what the situation demands at the time, and whether maybe a seamer whose A game is T20 cricket might just work better over here, defending 320, 330 against this England side, Ian, than a wrist spinner like Kuldeep, who of course has had a hard time of it. Could that be a difference?
I think we all agree it's the right selection. Certainly losing the toss and delight. So again, it's just going to be a matter of wickets, isn't it? If India can take wickets along the way, they stop England obviously going through the gears. They go at gear 6, don't they, most of the time? So wickets is what they did. That's what England did so well. I don't think you can try and be too protective and save and be cautious. Look to bowl England out. I think that's the best way. And India did that well in the first ODI. They took those 3 or 4 wickets in the middle period, which put a lot of pressure back on England. So that'll be the key for India.
All right, let's pick up
just
this
a quick point on how Ben Stokes got the wicket of Hardik Pandya. When Hardik Pandya made a room to play on the leg side because he was looking to attack the stumps. He got the wicket of Hardik Pandya. So that's something that, because they've got seamers and not too many, sort of mystery bowlers or guys who deceive the batsman and get them out, maybe they could look to stick to the old adage of attacking the stumps all the time. Slot bowling, we've seen in the series, is not such a bad idea.
I think Ronak as well. Sorry, just to say, I think India are going to have to put on a good fielding display as well. Any half chances in a catching or in a run out, I think if they can do that to the best of their ability today, then I think that will help them as well, rather than you don't want to be any sloppy in these, so every run will be a premium.
Yeah, fair points. They did have a few things go against them, umpiring decisions, all that. But let's see if catches and things like that could come into a series decider. It often does. So we'll pick up the chat with Ian Bell and Sanjay Manjrekar at the end of this game. Keep an eye out on whether Virat Kohli employs Hardik Pandya in this series decider. Big chat on how it's a long-term plan to ensure Hardik's body is managed and his workload is managed. But we'll see how things go. This is, of course, the series decider and the last game of this tour. Do join us after it is all over on ESPN Cricket for Match Day, powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G.